Is it your real hair or is it a weave? You people always wear such elaborate things. I hope it doesn't shed in my pool. Yeah, that's the very first thing she ever said to me. Not a hello, not welcome to the neighborhood, not even a stiff little nod you'd expect from someone who's pretending to be polite. I'd barely been here a week just trying to enjoy my first Saturday in the new condo. You know, I worked my tail off for this place. It's not some mansion in the hills, but it's mine and the real prize, the one thing that made every overtime shift and every dollar pinched worth it was that pool. Picture a resort-style setup, sparkling water, a gentle waterfall over stacked stone built-in ledges where you can just soak up the sun. And those lounge chairs, man. The kind that just beg you to waste an entire afternoon with a cold drink and a good book. I was all set sunscreen on oversized sunglasses, my favorite summer novel. For the first time in a long, long while, I was actually relaxed. And then she shows up right on cue like a storm cloud rolling in on a perfect summer afternoon. She's the kind of woman who always looks windblown even inside. Hair sprayed into a helmet, lips a stern, pale line tennis skirt on for no apparent reason. She marched straight over to my lounger, hands on hips, sizing me up like a drill sergeant. I took off my sunglasses, thinking maybe I'd accidentally picked her spot. Maybe there were reserved chairs I didn't know about. Gave her my best, let's keep this civil smile and a friendly, "Hi there. Beautiful day, isn't it?" And that's when she dropped the line about my hair. I've got braids, neat, stylish, part of who I am. I was so stunned, I just froze. Couldn't even find words. She didn't wait for an answer, just sniffed in that bird-like, judgy way and swept her gaze over me and the water. "This is a private community pool," she says, all condescension. "Cleanliness is paramount. We don't want foreign substances clogging the filter." Gestured right at my head, then the pool. I finally found my voice shakier than I wanted. "My hair is clean. It's not going to shed." She raised a perfectly arched eyebrow. "We'll see about that. I'm head of the Homeowners Association Welcoming Committee. It's my job to make sure new residents understand the standards we maintain here." Yeah, welcoming committee, like being interrogated by the neighborhood police, was part of the initiation. 10 minutes, she went on, I swear, lecturing about towel folding glass containers as if my plastic bottle was a grenade, rules about no loud music when I was reading in silence. It was a masterclass in passive-aggressive nonsense with racism so thick you could taste it. By the time she strutted away off to patrol the pH balance or whatever, my perfect afternoon was shot. The sun felt colder, the water less inviting. I just sat there, book forgotten, thinking, what have I gotten myself into? That was my introduction to the woman who'd become the bane of my existence, HOA Karen. After that disaster, I tried to shrug it off. Maybe she just had a bad day. Maybe she's just one of those rule sticklers. There's always one, right? I'm a rule follower. I keep my head down. But every time I saw her, I'd duck into my condo, treated her like a rain cloud, steer clear, hope you don't get soaked. But rain clouds eventually pass. She was more like a never-ending monsoon. A week later, I got my first official notice. Crisp envelope, looked like an invitation inside a violation on thick letterhead. My crime. The welcome mat. Mine was cheerful and said, "Hello, sunshine." The bylaw section 7 part C said all mats had to be solid earth tones no bigger than 18 by 30 inches. Mine was 20 by 32 with a cartoon sun. I had 48 hours to replace it or face a $25 fine. A fine for a welcome mat. I walked the complex that night, every single door the same drab beige rectangles. The place looked less like a community, more like a high-end minimum security prison. That was just the beginning. The notices started coming every week. One for my trash can being visible from the street for 15 minutes after pickup, $50 fine. One for a tiny wind chime my mom gave me too noisy, $25. She was documenting every petty thing. I started feeling like I was living under a microscope. coming home felt like entering enemy territory. Did I leave a window cracked? Is my wreath unapproved seasonal decor? It was psychological warfare over landscaping. I tried talking to a neighbor old guy always tending his roses, mentioned my welcome mat fine. He just shook his head. That's her. She's been running this place like a kingdom since her husband got her on the board. Lives for the bylaws. Best thing, keep your head down. Don't make waves. That's when I realized this wasn't just a cranky neighbor. This was a dictator, and everyone was scared, too scared to even have a mat that made them smile. For weeks, it was a Cold War violation notices and my silent compliance. I took down the wind chimes, bought the sad beige mat, set an alarm for trash day. But the pool was still my sanctuary. Karen only ever used it to patrol, not swim. If I went during weekday lulls, I could get a little peace. That all changed the day her son came home from college. The signs were obvious, a massive lifted truck with FRAT letters, music thumping from the lot. The next day, the pool was chaos, beer pong tables, guys yelling, blasting rap music, toddlers getting cannonballed. In the middle, her son, Chad, frat guy personified. Sleeveless shirt, sunburned backwards cap, and the same entitled sneer. And where was Karen lounging, smiling like she'd just crowned the new king? That's when it clicked. The rules were about control, not community, and her son was untouchable. The pool became a daily frat party, beer cans everywhere, pizza boxes in the trash, sunscreen, and God knows what else on the water. Families vanished. The only thing louder than their music was the message the prince was home, and the rules didn't apply. Karen brought them iced tea, smiled, never said a word about the mess. But God forbid my towel was the wrong color. The breaking point came on a Thursday. I'd had the day from hell. Work stress deadlines just needed half an hour of peace. Slipped into the pool, eyes closed, trying to decompress. Suddenly there's a shadow, Chad smirking, flanked by his goons. Hey, gotta ask you to clear out the deep end. Me and the boys want to do diving competitions. The pool was huge, plenty of room. This is the best spot, he insisted. Then the line that broke me, it's my pool anyway. My mom runs the place. Something in me snapped. All the pent-up frustration, the pettiness, the injustice, I didn't argue, just got out and walked away. But I wasn't defeated. I was plotting. If he wanted to claim the pool, I was about to make it useless on the one day he cared most, his big summer party. See, there'd been flyers. Chad's annual summer blowout epic pool party, Saturday, 2 p.m. What if there was no pool to party in? That night, fueled by a level of rage I didn't know I had, I went full Mission Impossible. Researched pool pump rooms, how to drain a pool where the key might be. Next day, I cased the joint maintenance guy padlock standard key. I didn't need to break in, just needed to borrow the key. I called the management company, played the part of a concerned board member's assistant, spun a story about gurgling pipes in emergencies. The receptionist was tired, ready to go home. She caved. Just sign out the key, bring it back Monday. The next morning, disguised as a maintenance helper, I signed for the key. Heart pounding, I slipped to the pump room, followed every YouTube tutorial set the valve to waste, turned on the pump. Hours later, used a sump pump to quietly finish the job. By the time Chad's party was in full swing, the pool was a dry concrete pit. When the first kid tried to cannonball straight onto a few inches of muddy water, the screams, the chaos, the confusion, it was everything I'd hoped. Chad's face when he realized his party was ruined, priceless. Karen was livid, storming around, calling the management, threatening severe consequences for this act of vandalism. But there was no evidence, no broken locks, no cameras by the pump room. Just a dry pool and a lot of angry, disappointed frat boys. But here's the twist. Karen's witch hunt backfired. She started blaming everyone, interrogating neighbors, piling on ridiculous fines, one for improperly stored patio cushions, another for excessive window coverings. She tried to evict me, claimed a witness saw me near the pump room. But the neighborhood had had enough. The old rose gardener Frank told me it was all a bluff, and he was right. We started talking, gathering everyone she'd ever targeted, families, couples, the Patels who she'd harassed about cooking smells. We dug into the HOA finances and founded a series of shady payments for landscaping services that just happened to improve Karen's private patio. Custom fountain specimen trees, all paid for by HOA funds. She wasn't just a bully, she was a thief. At the next HOA meeting, the whole neighborhood showed up. We dropped the evidence, photos, invoices, the works right there in front of everyone. Karen went from queen to pariah in about 10 minutes. The board voted her out, demanded repayment, and facing criminal charges, she caved. Chad vanished, truck and all. Karen's house sold in a flash. The new board threw out half the bylaws. Suddenly, every door had colorful mats, kids were laughing by the pool, and the whole place felt alive for the first time. A few weeks later, I'm floating in the pool, sun on my face, the world finally at peace. I spot my Hello Sunshine mat by my door, still there, a little faded but defiant. You know, sometimes you gotta cause a little trouble to find your peace. Sometimes you've gotta drain the whole pool just to remind folks nobody owns the water. Sitting there with the sound of laughter and the sun sparkling off the water, the victory tasted unbelievably sweet. So what would you have done? Is justice a little mess, a little rebellion, or is it just standing up to a bully, even if you have to get your hands wet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you've ever dealt with a HOA nightmare, let's hear it. Because sometimes a little civil disobedience is the only way to bring a community back to life.